It's Breakfast Daily on Citi TV. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, this Christmas, we'll be donating blood.
Yeah.
And our doctor, Dr. Kelvin Owusu, will walk us through exactly why it's important for you to donate blood this Christmas season. Good morning, Doc.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well.
It's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Yes, it's always good to be here as well. And today I have the two of you, so I'm very excited.
So talk to us about donating blood.
Well, it's Christmas and it's a season of giving gifts and all that. And I think one of the most important gifts you can give to another person is something very, very intimate. You know, so blood is something we should all consider giving as a gift this Christmas. Okay. You know, because it's a life-saving thing that only you can give, literally. I mean, you can't walk into a shop and buy blood or anything. One person, one human being has to make that donation so that in the event that somebody has an accident or there's an illness or something that they need a blood transfusion to save that person's life, it's available. I mean, in Ghana, we have a huge deficit. I mean, I know there are a lot of deficits in Ghana, but when it comes to blood, it's massive. Yeah. You know, we are only able to, as of 2018 figures, we are only able to supply able to supply less than 50% of the requirements.
Wow.
Of
less
blood.
than 50%.
Yes. And most of this blood that is actually used is donated under duress, as I call it.
Wow.
You know, because so your relative is admitted or there's an accident and your relative has there's a need for blood. Now, there's no blood, and so you literally have to, you are forced to donate blood so that they can make that blood available to your relative.
Wow.
You know, and that is really not a good thing. And so the blood, the Ghana Blood Service has been on a campaign to encourage voluntary donation, you know, so that at any point in time, there's blood available to give to whoever is in need of blood. And you know, one of the key population that needs blood almost all the time, that blood must always be available for them, are pregnant women.
Yeah.
You know, because there are a lot of complications that are associated with pregnancy that can result in heavy bleeding. And if blood is not made available in time, that woman is going to die. Yes. My
friend was expecting a baby, and they told her she needs to bring blood ahead of time before delivery. And I found that very odd.
So that's what I mean by most of the donations we are seeing today is under duress. So and it happened to me as well. I mean, when my wife was pregnant, I had to go and donate blood. You know, because in case something goes wrong, they need blood. And if there's no blood available, what do? Their hands are tied.
So help us understand something, because I can almost assume, without being presumptuous, that your blood type will not be the same as your wife's. So if you are going to give blood, how does that compensate for your wife's need of blood?
So the idea or the rationale behind this, I still call it donation under duress, is that the fact that your blood group may not be the same as your relative's blood group is true. However, if you have donated blood that has been made available to somebody else, then you are in credit.
Entitled. Okay, you have credit for blood.
And so when you need a blood, somebody else's donation will be given to you. I mean, this is actually one of the misconceptions I hope to clear today. People think or people assume that if I bring two friends to donate blood, it means that it is their blood that will be given to me. No, it's not like that. You know, because as you rightly said, everybody has a different, we have different blood groups. You know, so there's O, there's A, there's B, there's AB, and even there's positive and there's negative. So you can't just take one person's blood and just give to another person just like that. There are a test that has to be done. And even having said that, the fact that you may be O positive and you are O positive doesn't mean that he can take your blood. So there's something called cross-matching. So they'll take a sample of your blood, and then they took a sample of his blood, and then cross-match it. I mean, it's a process that they go through to see if the two bloods are compatible. Even though they are the same blood group, they have to be compatible as well. Otherwise, if the wrong blood is given to a patient, there could be negative consequences. And so a lot of testing has to be done. And then the other thing, too, is that the blood has to be screened to make sure that it is safe. So let me backtrack. So first of all, the blood is screened to make sure that it doesn't carry any infection. So HIV, hepatitis, hepatitis B, hepatitis C, and other tests are done before. I mean, so that when the blood is considered safe, then we check the blood group as well. So now we know that this blood is safe and it's O positive blood. Now, is this safe O positive blood good enough to be given to this person who is also O positive? That is where the cross-matching comes in. So then we'll cross-match the blood to make sure that now the safe blood, which is O positive, is also good enough for you. You know, because that, as I said earlier, that O positive blood may not be good for you because there are some proteins in your blood that react with the proteins in this donor's blood. And so cross-matching is very, very important. It's not just, you don't just take O-positive blood and give to O-positive patient. No. You have to make sure that the O-positive blood you have is, compatible with the patient you have. And so it's very, very, very important. And so you may donate blood today. That blood will not be given to your relative.
Okay.
But it's given to somebody else because your blood was not matching with your relative's own. But because you have donated blood,
I'm in credit.
Yes, you are in credit. So when your relative or that person you donated for is now in need of that blood, they will get blood that has been properly cross-matched for that person.
Well, Dr. Uso, make a case for why we should all give blood this Christmas.
Well, because okay, so let's take it from here. You never know when you might be having an accident where you're going to lose a lot of blood. And this can happen to any and everybody on the surface of this earth. You don't know where you'll be in Ghana and you might have an accident or you might have an emergency situation that you need blood. Or your wife is pregnant or you yourself are pregnant and then you start bleeding. There's a lot of bleeding associated with pregnancy. You don't know when that is going to happen. If the blood bank is not well stocked with blood, if this situation happens to you, you might be the unlucky person who will not have that blood. And unfortunately, in Ghana, the alternatives are not readily available. And so blood is our first line, our go-to when we need fluid to restore somebody who has lost a lot of blood. It's the same blood we have to replace. And so we need to stock the blood bank so that there's always blood available to give out to patients who are in need. And as I said earlier, 2018, we were able to supply less than 50% of the blood that we need in this country. I'm talking about the whole Ghana. And so that is unacceptable. Currently, only about 37% of the blood that we receive is done on voluntary basis, as in people just walking into the hospital or walking into the blood donation sites and donating. We need to increase that number to 100%, because when it's voluntary, it means that you just, out of your free will, you walked in. When it's done under duress, there's a lot of people are not excited about doing that because they are being forced to donate. That's not a good thing, And so voluntary blood donation is the order of the day. And it's very, very important. Of course, there are some people who should not donate blood. Some people who have anemia should not donate blood. However, anemia is treatable. And so if you're anemic, you have to treat the anemia so that you can donate blood. So anemic people are not to donate blood. And so usually when you go for
I'll be donating blood. So I eat a lot of greens.
Very, very important.
Before that.
So actually, when you go to donate blood, the first thing you'll do is take a small sample of your blood and check to make sure you are not anemic. Because when you're anemic, it means that your blood level, your iron stores are low. And so if you go and donate, you might get negative effects. So we don't want anemic people to donate blood. And people who have infection. So if you know you have HIV infection or hepatitis B, hepatitis C, you should not be doing a blood donation because that can be transmitted through blood. However, there are screening tests that are carried out on the blood to make sure that it's not infected or tainted blood.
Let me ask before you continue that. So let's say, for example, HIV, right? Will they test before the person gives, or they'll find out after the person has given?
So it depends. It depends. So assuming they were organizing a screening program, say, in front of CTFM, they will take all the samples. Okay. And then they will test after.
Okay.
But then if you walked into the blood bank or the blood services units, they will test these things before. Okay. So they have a rapid test kit that they will do. And however, after the blood is collected, they will do further testing, because there's a margin of error with the rapid test kits. Okay. So whenever they do a rapid test kit, they'll do a confirmatory test subsequently before the blood is cleared. Okay. So yes, that's about it. Out of blood that you give, there are so many things that can be done, with it to make it more. How do I put it? There are different categories of people. We have children. Children, for instance, cannot take what we call whole blood is when we just take the blood from you and that blood is just given to the next person. That's whole blood. But out of whole blood, you can segregate it into the components. Okay. So there's plasma, there's red cell, there's white, so many things. So when it comes to children, we have something called packed cells. Now, to get packed cells, you need about 2 or 3 people to donate blood for us to get packed cells so that children can actually get enough red cells without the volume. Because when you give them too much volume, it has complications, But having said all this, there are also benefits to the individual who donates. if you donate regularly, there are benefits that you stand to get. So it's not just about donating keke.
Like what?
Such as?
So for one thing, there's a group of people who have genetic predisposition to iron overload, iron toxicity. If you donate blood often, you are not going to have that iron overload, that iron toxicity. So if it runs in certain families, so if you have that condition, it's called hemochromatosis, donating blood is actually a good thing for you.
Okay.
Now, to those of us who don't have hemochromatosis, if you donate blood regularly, your chances of a cardiovascular event, when you say cardiovascular event, something like a stroke, heart attack, those things, actually goes down compared to the general population. Well, there has a lot of technicalities, but statistically, we've seen that people who donate blood regularly, their chance of developing a cardiovascular event is lower than the general population. Also, cancer. Some cancers have been noted to actually have a lower incidence or lower occurrence in people who donate blood regularly. And so the point is, when you donate blood frequently or often, it's good for you, because it keeps your system, your blood, your red cell production systems functioning quite well. And when you go and donate blood, they're not even taking so much. They're only taking a pint. A pint is about 250 to 300 mils. That's all. And this can be done within 10-15 minutes.
It's like a sachet of water, right?
Yeah,
okay.
That's all. It's actually less than a sachet of water.
Wow. So what's the process?
So
what should we do before we go out to donate blood? Is there a specific meal you should eat before and after?
No, I mean, it's just your normal self. I mean, you do your things, you wake up, you've eaten and all that, then you just go walk into any blood donation center. Usually any of the hospitals actually can receive you and take you through the process. Sometimes, especially in this season, there'll be a lot of areas in town that you can also walk to and donate blood. You just go there. The first thing they will do is they will counsel you. They'll ask you a few questions, take you through a questionnaire, because we need to rule out some high-risk people. So like I said, people who have infection that they are aware of. If you're not aware of it, it's not even a problem. In fact, when you go and do a blood donation, you'll be made aware of some of these things, and it's good to know your status, if you are positive or negative, because now there's a lot of treatment options available. So let's say you have HIV and you're not even aware. If you want to do a screening if you want to do a donation, they'll screen you and they'll let you know in a conducive environment. And then now that you know what to do about it. Because now HIV is not a death sentence. There's treatment options available. So the earlier you know, the better. So by donating blood, you get to know your status. And then you can take the necessary precautions. So you go there, they'll counsel you. And when you pass through the testing, they check whether you're anemic or not. And then you pass. You go and just lie on the couch. And then they'll put a needle in your what do you call this place? The medical term is anticubital fossa, but I've forgotten the English name. So you know what I'm talking about. This place.
By your vein, right?
Yes, there's a big vein here that they prefer to use. So they'll stick a needle there, and then they'll usually give you a ball, something to squeeze, and then the blood comes out. Within 10 minutes, you are done.
Wow.
And majority of people, they can actually get up and go immediately, because there's nothing that affects them. But a few people would get a bit, lightheaded, and so we would ask you to lie down for another 10 minutes. So altogether, within 20 minutes, you are ready to go home. Wow. And they'll usually give you something nice to eat.
Oh, really?
Well, in my experience, they've only given me malt. Twice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's a free bottle of malt.
Really?
So yeah.
Back in the day, I understand they used to give tins of Milo.
Well, they've done a lot of things.
Different incentives to encourage people to come and give blood and all that. But giving blood under duress, I've done it twice. For two different friends of mine who had crisis situations and had to go, and give blood. I think that generally speaking, I want us to talk about the attitude of the personnel handling. And the psychology, I guess, that's what I want to talk about. The psychology of giving blood, how to prepare yourself mentally and all of that. Because sometimes, when you see the size of the needle, it can be, quite intimidating. I like crazy things, so, it was fun for me. But I think it can be intimidating to some people, So because of that, they will say, talk us through the psychology of preparing yourself to donate blood.
Okay, so I think let's begin from here. The thing is, blood, like I said, is very intimate. It's not visible. It's deep inside of the body, and so we have to gain access to it some way, somehow. Blood is also quite thick, And so we need something sizable to be able to accommodate the cell so it can flow easily. Because if you don't give it something, if you don't allow it to flow easily, it's going to clot. And so we don't want the blood to clot. And so that's why we use a needle that's slightly bigger than the normal needle that we know. And that's also why we use a big vein. So the vein here, as I mentioned, is very big. And so when you have access to it, the blood flows easily. And then because we are using a wide bore needle, again, there's no slowing of the flow, so it flows easily into the bag. Now the mindset is that I'm doing this to help humanity, because and as they say, no pain, no gain. This is literally no pain, no gain. So and like I said, it's only the maximum amount of time the needle will stay in your body is 10 minutes. And so just understand that you are doing this to help somebody, or in fact to help yourself. Exactly. And so just take the pain and then let the blood flow. There's really no other way to get the blood out, unfortunately. It has to be, we have to introduce a needle into the vein to get the blood to come out. And so just keep it at the back of your mind that I'm doing this to help the next person or to help myself. I mean, personally, I've donated blood about 5 times, and I still flinch when I see the needle, but then, like I said, within 10 minutes it's gone, and then you know that I've helped somebody. So
if he flinches, then I think I'm okay.
Okay. I mean. So for some of us who want to make donating blood our New Year goal, how often should we donate annually?
Okay, so
assuming you're not anemic or anything.
So you can actually donate blood every 2 months.
Wow.
Yes, every 2 months you can donate blood.
Okay.
You can donate blood every 2 months, 8 weeks. That's all. That's how much time you need to restock.
Okay.
And then you are good to go again. Okay. So you can actually donate blood up to 6 times in a year. But I think 4 times is okay. Once every quarter is perfect. Okay, just pass by. And now there are so many, like I said, there are so many blood centers that it doesn't even have to be an inconvenience. Ridge Hospital is just here, Kolebu is just there, 37. That's to name a few places, but there are so many other ones that you can actually enter and then just donate a pint of blood. So you can pass through once every quarter and then just donate a pint.
Okay.
I like this.
It works for me.
Yeah.
So talk to us. Should we, like people at home that are thinking of donating blood, is it easier if you go by yourself or you organize your friends or your church mosque and you go as a group? So
actually the blood service has an outreach van. So if you actually organize yourself as a group, they'll come to you and you don't pay anything. They'll just come to you and then take the blood samples and then that's it. But if you also want to go on an individual basis, like I said, you can just walk into any of the blood services unit. Their head office is in Kolebu, and you can just take your blood and then that's it. But once you can organize yourself, whether it's a church, work group, any group of people, they will come to you with their caravan and then just take the samples and then at no cost. I mean, that's the nice part. They will drive over to you and then do their thing.
Wow.
So like break time, you can just go down, have a pint taken and continue work.
Nice. I like that.
Now, for people who are thinking to themselves, I don't want to know if I have any diseases, and if I'm going to give blood, they're going to find it out. What are you going to say to such people? I'm asking this because the very first time not the first time, because the first time I gave, I think I was like 18, and it was in school. It was organized in my secondary school. But the second time, I did it voluntary, but under duress, And I kept asking myself, so what if there's something? And they find out something. I kept playing this back in my head all the time. And I think a lot of people do this because if you know they're going to test the blood, then you're wondering, what are they going to find out? What do we say to such people so that they still get encouraged to come?
Okay, so as I said earlier, there are two things. There are two kinds of donations, even the voluntary. If you were to walk into the blood donation services unit and to do a donation, you can actually, if you wanted to know your status, you can ask them to give it to you. Okay. If you don't want to know, they won't tell you.
Okay.
So it's really up to you. They're interested in the blood, so they will run the test on the blood, and if the blood is good, they will use it. If it's not good, they will discard it. If you want to know, they can actually give you feedback on your blood there and then, or if it's not possible, they'll give you a date to come for the results. When they come out to do an outreach on the streets, most of the time, because of the crowd, they don't actually disclose. So they will take the samples and they will go to their unit and then run the test. If it's good, they use. If it's not good, they will discard. But again, if you want to know, because there's a blood donors booklet. that that will give you, which has your special number and all that. So if you want to know your results, they will tell you. I mean, you can report at the office with your details, and then they will check in and they will let you know. So if you don't want to know your status, it's not mandatory. It's not mandatory for you to know, but they have to run the test on the blood before it's given to the next person. Yeah. But to disclose to you, if you want to know, they can tell you. If you don't want to know, that's it. It's not a problem at all. However, speaking as a doctor, I would say that knowing is better than not knowing, because if you know that this and this is what I have, then you can put prevent or precautionary measures in place. Because let's go back to something like hepatitis B. The fact that you have hepatitis B is not a death sentence. However, do you want that hepatitis B to be transferred to your wife or your husband and your children? No. There are ways to prevent that hepatitis B from spreading to other family members. And that is why you need to know, so that you can prevent it from spreading to the next person. Because even in as much as it's not a death sentence, it's not something that you should be spreading around just like that. And something like the hepatitis B is it's actually more infectious than HIV.
Wow.
Oh yes, it's actually it's almost 30 times more infectious than HIV. In fact, if you are exposed to HIV and hepatitis B at the same time, the hepatitis B would establish itself much faster than the HIV. And so if you have hepatitis B, definitely you should know about it, because there's vaccination, so that if your close associates need to get that vaccination, they'll get it. So not knowing will put everybody else at risk. And then you yourself will also be at risk, because you are not going to get treatment, and so it's going to spread, it's going to proliferate much faster. And so knowing is always better than not knowing. It doesn't matter how scary it is. If you know, then you can take measures to slow it down, and in some cases, take it into remission.
Now, finally, can you let us know, we are listening to you, we are watching you, we talk about problems all the time, but this is a problem that we can solve.
Yes.
If 1 million of us committed to donating blood at least 3 times a year, we can actually solve this problem. So please talk to us about this solution that we can all contribute to.
You see, there are so many issues that are facing us in Ghana at the moment. So many issues that are out of our control. I mean, our roads are not the best. There's traffic on the road. All those things are not in our control. But there's one thing that is in our control, and that is when it comes to blood. We can actually solve this issue ourselves. We don't need any donor support. We ourselves are the donors, and there's so many avenues available for us to simply walk in and donate, or have them come to us and then we donate. And so we can actually make 2020 the year we become self-sufficient when it comes to blood supply. And so let us all make a commitment to donate at least, not 3, 4, at least 4 pints of blood a year, 1 pint every quarter. It's doable, it's possible, and it can be done anywhere in all the 16 regions of Ghana. So let us rise up as Ghanaians and solve this problem once and for all.
Fantastic. That's a good call. I like it.
I should be president of the
I know, right?
You should. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Kelvin Owusu. It's always a pleasure having you.
It's always a pleasure having you.
And of course, he's the medical doctor of Optima Care Diagnostics.
Yeah. Well, I'm making my resolution already. I'm doing, by the grace of God, 4 times next year. I'm going to do it. Yeah. And I hope you're going to do the same too.
I'll take it slow. Maybe 2 times a year until I get to the 4. Hi there. We hope you enjoyed the show.
Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, and share with your friends.
This is Breakfast Daily on Citi TV.
Join the Breakfast Daily team Monday through Fridays from 7:30 a.m. to 10. Join us for breakfast daily, only on Citi TV.